What's good, college football gamers? It's your boy Ben checking in with another College Football 25 YouTube video, and I know what you're thinking. There ain't no way this dude could possibly have cooked up a part 3 here after dropping videos 2 days in a row. And I'm gonna make this short and sweet because really, the reason we're here is that I've been getting a pretty crucial and fundamental game mechanic just a little bit wrong, and I've come to collect my L's, make things right, and put y'all on to what is probably the best influence play in the game that I've been accidentally overlooking. And now don't worry, if you're coming from these other 2 videos and you've spent over 40 minutes listening to me yap about recruiting, everything that we talked about is still absolutely good to go. The hard sell on 2, looking for deal breaker to help you out, setting up your prospect board, things like this, everything we've talked about is still absolutely fine for your strategy, but we've been missing this overkill option because of my misunderstanding of how sway works. And now, quick before we start, I know we're not the first ones on this, and I know that because I actively fought against it for about 90 seconds on stream yesterday. So we are a little bit late, but even myself for being so invested into the mode and taking care to make sure I know all of the details, I missed this. So in case you're a little bit late, or you might have missed it too, let's get ourselves back up to speed and finally get right. So it's during yesterday's live stream, we're chatting, we're gaming, we got the Old Dominion recruiting sim dynasty going, and somebody from the chat mentioned something like, hey, Fend, I got 4 interests on this prospect, like, what do you think I should do with it? I'm like, preposterous. Everybody knows every prospect only has 3 interests. You must be mistaken. There can't possibly be a 4th. A couple people from the chat are like, no, Fend, I'm telling you, you could use sway, actually wind up adding an interest. I've even actually seen people add 2. You got to try it out, man. It's pretty OP. And I'm like, you fools. Absolute foolish endeavor here. Everybody knows there's only 3 interests, and I go on yapping just woefully incorrectly for about 60 seconds, pretty sure I was correct and in fact being completely incorrect. And then there was a veritable chorus from the chat about a good bunch of people just trying to help me out in earnest, be like, hey, Fen, man, we got to put you onto this. It's super helpful. And also, since it was the internet, your fair share of these Discord mod Hello Kitty waifu body blanket, just unfortunately postured old Frosty the Snowman Stay Puft looking boy, just absolutely but cry as I might, all of these people were absolutely correct, and I was absolutely incorrect about a key way that you can use sway to set up your home run super OP variety of both a hard sell and a soft sell if you could unlock another pitch. I'm going to go over the particulars in a second here. I honestly can't believe I missed it. And again, I'm sure a lot of y'all are not indeed as late to this party as I am. But with all the information we went over in the first 2 videos, this is a crucial piece to really just help it crank it up to the next level and potentially get benefits from both a hard and a soft sell in 1 week of influence. This is looking like how it's going to get set up. Now, just real quick before we start this sway tutorial, if you are currently chewing on rocks, I need you to stop for just a second and put your listening ears on. Yes, Texas is the team that we are on right now, but since we are talking about sway, which is a game mechanic that is going to be a part of all of these schools' options and ways that you can add actions, being Texas and using this as a template actually doesn't help us at all, nor does it hurt us at all. We are just using this for an example. Now, if you actually have thoughts happening in between your ears, I'm sorry that we had to go over that, but I'm trying to save myself answering a bunch of these, oh, Texas don't care type of comments, okay? And now here's my grand revelation that hopefully comes as pretty old news to you. The sway mechanic does not indeed replace the perfect pitch of the prospect, and we know that because we can just open my ever-loving eyes and read. Sway, if successful, this will add your chosen ideal pitch as the recruit's ideal pitch for your school only. Add the pitch, not replace it. And like we've said, everything that we've been talking about in both videos so far is still good to go, but we can get so much more creative getting to that 2 interest spot and apparently way beyond to stack some actions that are going to absolutely farm interest. We were also still correct about the success rate of sway being tied to overlapping interest. That is to say, if a prospect was interested in a few of the things you're trying to pitch him, you're trying to sway him to, you have a higher chance of success of that sway. What makes things a little more interesting here, though, is I've gotten anecdotal reports from the chat, a lot of these guys that were helping me get right and look a little less foolish, that they were actually having great success in sway by even matching only one interest. And if that's true, we could start this process on just one green check rather than needing to wait for two, and potentially stack this hard and soft sell play if we're able to successfully earn a sway. So to show it in action, I pulled up our old guy, Brian Worthy, from another video. He's a 3-star recruit, and we have him in his top 5. So when we go here to add his action, we've done this, and this will probably look familiar if you've seen part 1. We already know that his current perfect pitch is the clutch because it's the only one that it possibly could be. We went over the process of elimination. If you want to see a little bit more of that, check out part 1. It'll explain the whole thing. So we already know that that's his perfect pitch currently. But what if we wanted to get greedy with what the chat put me onto about sway? Instead, let's pick sway and then look for another pitch that's going to grade well for us that has at least one overlap with the clutch. So at least one interest overlapping with pro potential, playing style, and proximity to home. So let's look around a little bit to see what a good option for that might be. We're looking for 2, and I love that for a potential sway. He's telling us that he's not interested in conference prestige, but obviously conference prestige for us grades at an A+. So we would love for him to care about that if possible. Let's see if a couple of these will have a match of 1. Let's see here. A match of 1. I think that's going to be our only 2 match. That's pretty good, but it has a C in it if we wanted to gamble on the just 1 interest match. Okay, so I think we do indeed have it correct when we are looking at it's game time for our best option on a sway here to get him essentially to care about conference prestige when he didn't before. So let's put that on as our sway, and we won't do anything else here. I'm about to advance the week. We're on Brian Worthy, so we're taking note as to whether or not we're able to successfully sway him to also care about conference prestige. Let's see what happens after the advance. All right, so I'm glad this happened in the video because it does just go to show that this is not foolproof whatsoever, and it is still a roll chance. Some of the anecdotal evidence from the chat on swaying on 1 seems to be a little less viable right now, but as you can see here, we've advanced a week, but we did not uncover conference prestige as another one of his interests. It's still X'd out, which indicates to me that the sway was unsuccessful. This is the risk that you run. I'm gonna push another week here to see if we can get it, because then I'll be able to show what you can do if you're able to be successful with the sway in stacking hard and soft sells. So we go 0 for 1 despite matching 2 of his interests. Conference prestige still not looking good for him. Let's push another week to see if we could sway this time. Okay, and you love it when a plan comes together. So it did take us 2 weeks here. Importantly, when you look at his grid of checks, keep in mind that we uncovered one that we already knew about, okay? I believe it was pro potential that was previously grayed out. We just didn't know. By process of elimination, we did know, but we weren't being showed that. But now, as you look at the chart, there's 4 checks and not 3. Spectacular news. So what we can do with this now that we did get our successful sway, and I'm glad that the video showed that it's not going to be a guaranteed chance, it's going to be a little bit of a gamble, but it's to set up now this knock it out of the park OP influence play where we can add an action. We'll scroll down to hard sell. We could put on the clutch for our hard sell, add another option, scroll down to soft sell, and we don't have enough hours to do it. I'm spoiled from dealing with 65 hours with some of my coaches that have the improved skill tree. So obviously you will need that help, and you won't be able to make this play if you're at the baseline 50 hours per prospect. This should also probably be more old news to you, but just so you know what I'm talking about specifically, when I back out here, we're gonna go over to the coach's ability skill tree. And the way you'll get more hours to spend per coach, obviously, would just be one just spawn in with a great coach like Texas has here, but if you're using a created coach or a lower star school, when you get in here to the recruiter tab, the tier 2 and 3 are valuable for us, especially though tier 3, if you actually want to make this big OP hard and soft sell play and you want enough hours to be able to do that. Tier 3 is where you'll get the weekly increase of recruiting hours per the position. A little bit arduous because you'll have to unlock per position. You have to get to tier 3 to all of these spots to be able to get the 65 hours in the first place. But that's something to consider working on that skill tree so that you do indeed have enough hours to make some of these crazy OP influence plays, including what we now know you can do with Sway, getting that 4th interest check. Allegedly, you can even get a 5th as well and do pretty much the same thing, carry the same ideas, and just really knock it out of the park from there. So hopefully you could see a few things about Sway when it's properly used here. One is that it can absolutely be an overpowered mechanic to get you 4, maybe even 5 interests uncovered on the board. So then with the appropriate coach skill tree points spent, you might be able to actually hard and soft sell 2 perfect pitches that you've created and set up a crazy OP influence farm. As we saw in the video, it's not guaranteed. Even trying to sway on 2 of his interests that we know about was not a successful go with our first one. It took us 2 advances to actually lock in that sway, so you're gonna have to keep that in mind. 2 will give you a better chance, 1 will have less of a chance. Some of the anecdotal reports from the chat about converting on 1 with the sway at a high clip seem to be a little less viable with what we just saw, but after as incorrect as I was and how hard I fought against it, I'm tempted to take their word for it that you might be able to convert at a decent clip with just 1 interest as well. And right before I let you go, we also got some comms from EA themselves in a blog post about some known issues in the game that I know I've been seeing a lot of reports of myself. Among the issues were tuning the Super Sim setting that has FCS teams getting tons of upsets right now, but they didn't really commit too much beyond that. I think we wanted to tune for Super Sim kind of in general. They specified the FCS upset bit, but then kind of let us know they're just going to keep an eye on things otherwise and see how things move going forward. They also reminded us that some of the details and inner workings of Dynasty are meant to be dynamic and fluid, and they're set up that way so that 2 people both playing the same Dynasty for the same amount of time will likely end up in pretty notably different situations. So try as we might in videos like this to get some of this stuff down as scientifically as we can, it is part of the intention of the mode that we have some realistic streak of unpredictability and change. So that is to be expected, and that is by design. They also mentioned they have eyes on a few visual bugs and incorrect logos, things like this, and that they're working on a fix to the current incorrect cap of 20 users in an online Dynasty, and they're working on that, getting it fixed to the intended 32 that we should be able to play with, and included some other stuff as well. I'll link the full note that they gave us in the description below in case you want to check that out for yourself. So hopefully I was able to keep this pretty much right to the point. It's fair to have a laugh at my expense on this one, and another big thanks to all the folks in the chat, both the Chads and the dorks alike, that put me on and got me right, and updated our info, allowing me to pass this along to you with really no thanks to me at all, and full thanks to those good folks. Great information and a new great tactic to add to our toolbox. I've been Fend. Y'all have been great. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.